Hi, my name is Joshua Wayne and this is Carl Mittelhammer. We have a company called Prime Solutions and Associates, but all you really need to know about us is summarized in our domain name, schoolemergencymanagement.com. In our careers, we've had the opportunity to look at dozens, if not hundreds, of school emergency management plans. And what we find is that while most schools actually have some sort of plan in place, the overwhelming majority of them are insufficient, and they leave some major vulnerabilities in place as a result. One is that your school community, meaning your students and your staff, are at risk if things don't get executed properly when there's a crisis situation. Second, it leaves you as an administrator at risk, because let's face it, ultimately, you're the one who's accountable. And if there's a crisis, you don't want to have to go before an angry school board or deal with angry parents or have your name in the media for the wrong reasons. You want your name in the papers because your test scores were great or because your athletic programs are doing fantastic, not because a crisis situation was handled poorly. So ultimately, you're accountable, and not only do you need to protect your staff and your students, you also need to protect your reputation and make sure you don't get sued or put your career in jeopardy. So there are 6 key things that we have found to be most essential for school administrators to make sure are accounted for in their school emergency management planning. We're going to talk to you about those 6 things briefly in this video. Then we're going to invite you to come to a slightly longer video where we go into greater detail into those 6 things and give you some guidance on why they're so important and the key things you want to consider when you're thinking about them. Finally, at the end of the second video, we'll give you an opportunity to get a free consultation from us where we walk you through to make sure that you've got an absolutely blue chip, blue ribbon plan that is going to exceed all standards that are out there. So before we go on, just a little bit more about ourselves. You can read a fuller bio down below. Like I said, my name is Joshua Wayne. My background is actually in the mental health field as a family therapist. But I've also been involved in schools for the last 15 years in one way or another. I ran a gang intervention program in Chicago for 5 years. And I've also been the director of a Safe Schools, Healthy Students initiative that served thousands of students in a large school district in New Jersey.
And I'm Carl Mittelhammer. I was a police officer for 25 years. After I left my law enforcement career, I worked for the New Jersey Department of Education, and I was giving technical advice to school administrators all over the state with their school security plans.
There's a quote that Carl and I always reference when we're talking about school emergency management because it summarizes the challenges so succinctly. It's from Dr. Ron Stevens, who's the executive director of the National School Safety Center. And he says there are only 2 kinds of school administrators: those that have just faced a crisis and those who are about to.
There's a statistic from the Bureau of Justice Statistics that absolutely supports that quote. And what they say is that 78% of public schools in the United States have experienced a school violence incident. That's alarming. Think about it. Do the math. That's 3 out of 4 schools.
So like I said, there are 6 critical things that you have to account for. The first one is leadership. And everyone uses the term leadership. It's kind of a buzzword, but we mean it in a very specific way.
You need to champion it. If you don't, they won't.
Exactly. If you don't champion the process, you cannot expect that your core team is going to do it either. The second one is stakeholder buy-in. And this doesn't just mean your core team at your school.
This also means your external people in the community that have a vested interest in the safety and security of your schools. Emergency responders, government officials, could be EMS, fire. All these people need to be brought in.
The third one is that it has to meet minimum government standards. If your state doesn't already have minimum standards, it's going too soon, and you want to make sure that you're ahead of the curve and not behind it.
And what those minimum standards always address are the 4 universal stages of crisis management.
And they have to be thoroughly addressed in the plan. The next one, the fourth one, is it has to address emerging trends. These are things that are critical but are often overlooked.
These are things such as food defense, pandemic influenza planning, HIB, harassment, intimidation, bullying. We know this is a nationwide focus now.
Fifth, the plan has to be practiced on a regular basis.
And practicing on a regular basis, what that's referring to is school security drills, doing tabletop exercises. And again, just to practice these things so when a crisis hits, it's almost automatic. Things go into motion.
Yeah, it goes on autopilot. And sixth and final is that it has to be a living document. A lot of administrators think, oh, I've got a plan, it's sitting on my hard drive or it's sitting on a shelf, I'm covered. And it really is not. You have to be constantly evolving the plan and making sure that it's addressed, making sure that you're training on it, making sure that everybody in the school, internal, external, know what's in the plan and know what their role is when a situation comes up. So those are the 6 things. And like I said before, we want to invite you to another video if you sign up at the form next to this video. And we're going to go into greater detail into these 6 things and give you some more guidance on why these are so critical. And then we'll also give you an opportunity to get a free consultation from us on how to make sure that your plan truly is blue chip, blue ribbon. It will protect your school community, will protect your students and your staff, but will also protect the integrity of your reputation. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.